Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're taking a deep dive into the world of Seventh-day Adventists.
Okay.
You know, our listeners are really interested in learning more about this denomination.
Yeah.
So we've got some fascinating material to work with today. We're going to be looking at excerpts from the book,
Mm.
Seventh-day Adventists Believe,
Okay.
and also this document called A Word About the 28 Fundamental Beliefs of Seventh-day Adventists.
Sounds good.
Now, one of the things that really jumped out at me
Yeah.
when I was looking at these sources is this interesting dynamic.
Right.
You know, they hold the Bible as their ultimate authority, but then they've also developed this set of 28 fundamental beliefs.
Yeah.
So how do these beliefs kind of work together?
Well, it's a great question.
What makes them stand out? What's the story there?
I think the 28 beliefs are, they're not meant to replace the Bible.
Yeah.
Think of them more as a framework,
Okay.
a way to understand and apply the Bible's teachings consistently.
I see.
The book even states Adventists have but one creed, the Bible, and the Bible alone.
So it's not about adding to the Bible,
Right.
but about interpreting it through this specific lens.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That this focus on the Bible
Yeah.
shapes everything for them.
Right?
Their understanding of God,
Yep.
their relationship with Him, their place in the world.
Mm-hmm.
It's really fascinating how one book can have such a profound impact on an entire group of people.
Yeah. Now, one of the things that really caught my eye when I was reading through this
Yeah.
is this idea of a progressive understanding of truth.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean in the context of Adventist beliefs?
Yeah, so this is a core idea for them.
Okay.
Basically, they believe that understanding God and His will isn't static.
Gotcha.
It's not like you get it all at once. It can evolve and deepen over time through study, prayer, reflection on life.
Mm-hmm.
It's a journey.
Okay.
As Proverbs 4:1-8 puts it, the path of the just is as the shining light that shineth more and more into the perfect day.
So it's not about having all the answers right now, but being open to growth
Yeah,
and new insights.
exactly.
That's actually quite refreshing, isn't it?
It is.
You think that way.
Of course,
Yeah.
these new insights always have to be grounded in the core teachings of the Bible.
Okay.
It's about evolution, not revolution
Yeah.
in their understanding.
I see. So it's like
Yes.
you're building on this strong
Yeah.
foundation.
That's a great way to put it.
And speaking of foundations,
Okay.
let's talk about how all of their doctrines are Christ-centered.
Okay.
This seems to be a really key point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Everything points back to Jesus and strengthening the believer's relationship with Him.
Okay.
It's not just about like intellectual knowledge.
Gotcha.
It's about fostering a real living connection with Christ.
So less about dogma and more about lived experience?
Precisely.
Okay.
And this emphasis on action is really important.
Hmm.
The book says, true doctrine calls for far more than mere belief. It calls for action.
Right.
Through the Holy Spirit, Christian beliefs become loving deeds.
So understanding these beliefs
Yeah.
can give us insights into why Seventh-day Adventists value actions.
Exactly.
Correct.
Good deeds so much.
It's about understanding the people behind the beliefs.
So for everyone listening out there,
Yeah.
this is about understanding not just what they believe,
Right.
but how those beliefs translate into
Yeah.
real-world actions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, one thing that I find interesting is that these 28 fundamental beliefs
Right.
didn't just kind of appear overnight.
Yeah, they have a history.
They do.
The first version was a 25-point synopsis back in 1872.
Right.
And it's evolved into these 28 points that we have today.
Exactly.
So how did this evolution happen? What does that tell us about their faith?
Well, I think it shows that they are committed to ongoing study,
Oh,
and they're willing to refine their understanding as they go.
It reminds us that religious groups aren't static.
Right.
They adapt and grow
Mm-hmm.
while staying rooted in their core principles.
So it's like they're holding on to that core,
Yeah.
but the branches are allowed to kind of grow and reach in new directions
Got it.
as understanding deepens.
And this brings us to the book itself.
Okay.
Seventh-day Adventists Believe.
Right.
It's a resource for anyone who wants to understand their perspective
Mm-hmm.
in a more accessible way.
And it sounds like it's not meant to be
Right.
a rigid rule book, but more of an invitation to
Exactly.
explore faith and engage in conversation.
It's about fostering understanding and respect
Yeah.
between different faith communities.
Absolutely. So important in today's world.
It is.
So let's kind of recap what we've discovered so far
Okay.
about Seventh-day Adventists.
Yeah.
They're deeply rooted in the Bible.
Mm.
They believe in a progressive understanding of truth,
Right.
and they see their doctrines as inherently Christ-centered. and action-oriented.
Absolutely.
But there's still so much more to explore.
We've only just scratched the surface.
Yeah, we have.
Each of these 28 beliefs plays a specific role in shaping their understanding of God, humanity, and the world around them.
It's like this complex puzzle.
It is.
With all these interconnected pieces.
Yeah.
Well, let's start putting those pieces together.
Sounds good. One of the most well-known beliefs, and maybe one of the most intriguing, is their observance of the Sabbath on Saturday.
Yeah. The Sabbath definitely is something we need to dive into.
Yeah.
So why Saturday? What's the significance there?
Well, for Seventh-day Adventists, it goes back to the creation story in Genesis.
Okay.
They see the Sabbath as a memorial of God's creative power and a reminder that he is the ultimate authority, even over time itself.
So it's not just about like a day of rest,
Right.
but about connecting back to that original act of creation.
Exactly. In Genesis, it says that God rested on the seventh day after creating the heavens and the earth, and that he blessed and sanctified that day.
Okay.
They interpret this as a divine command to set aside the seventh day, Saturday, as holy.
So for them, it's about aligning their lives with God's rhythm of creation and rest.
Exactly.
It's a pretty powerful statement in a world that's always on the go.
It is.
But what does that actually look like in practice?
So the Sabbath begins at sunset on Friday.
Okay.
And ends at sunset on Saturday.
Okay.
During this time, they refrain from work and focus on spiritual things.
Okay.
They might attend church services, spend time in nature, study the Bible, or just enjoy time with family and friends.
It almost sounds like this radical act of stepping back from the constant demands of modern life.
You could say that.
And like this real countercultural statement.
In a world that's obsessed with productivity and achievement, they're choosing to prioritize rest, reflection, and connection with God.
Now, switching gears a bit, I understand they also have a very distinct view on what happens after death.
Right.
Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, they believe in what's called soul sleep.
Okay.
The idea is that when we die, we enter a state of unconsciousness until the resurrection.
Interesting.
So it's not about going straight to heaven or hell, but this kind of peaceful sleep until Christ returns.
That's a very different perspective than a lot of people believe.
It is.
What leads them to that interpretation?
They base it on several Bible passages that describe death as a sleep. For instance, Ecclesiastes 9:5 says, "For the living know that they will die, but the dead know nothing."
Okay.
There's also 1 Thessalonians 4:1-16, which speaks of the dead being raised at the second coming of Christ.
So it's not the end, but it's a pause. A waiting period until that final reunion.
Exactly.
With God at the resurrection.
It really shapes how they view death and mourning.
Okay.
Instead of despair, there's this sense of hope and anticipation for the future.
Okay, and this idea of the resurrection, it's obviously tied to their belief in the second coming of Christ.
Absolutely. The second coming is a central pillar of their theology.
Okay.
They believe in a literal, visible return of Jesus to earth.
Gotcha.
A real event that will mark the end of this current age and the beginning of God's eternal kingdom.
So not a symbolic, spiritual event.
A real physical return of Christ.
That's a powerful image.
It is, and it motivates them to live their lives in a certain way, to spread the gospel, and prepare the world for this momentous occasion.
I see.
They live with a sense of urgency, knowing that time is short and their mission is vital.
It sounds like their entire worldview is kind of shaped by this anticipation of Christ's return.
It is.
Now, is this where the idea of the Great Controversy comes in?
Yes. The Great Controversy is a core theme in Seventh-day Adventist theology.
Okay.
It's the idea of this cosmic battle between good and evil, God and Satan.
Okay.
That's been raging throughout history.
So it's not just about individual struggles, but about this larger cosmic conflict that we're all caught up in.
Right. They believe that this battle started in heaven when Lucifer, a powerful angel, rebelled against God and was cast out.
Wow.
This rebellion continues on earth as Satan tries to deceive and destroy humanity.
So it's an ongoing battle.
It is. But the good news is that this conflict will ultimately end with the second coming of Christ.
Right.
When God will triumph over evil and establish his kingdom.
It's a powerful story, a narrative that provides a framework for understanding the challenges and complexities of life.
It helps them make sense of suffering, injustice, and the battle between good and evil that we see all around us.
Right.
And it also highlights the significance of our choices.
Okay.
Since we're all participating in this cosmic struggle.
So there's this strong emphasis on personal responsibility and the power of choice in their belief system.
You're absolutely right. They believe in free will.
Our ability to choose between good and evil.
Yeah.
To follow God or reject him.
It's not about predestination then.
No, it's about making choices that have real consequences.
Okay.
Both in this life and the next.
So the choices we make matter.
Exactly.
They have eternal significance.
And this brings us to another key belief that ties into this idea of choice and God's plan for our salvation. The sanctuary doctrine.
Okay, I've heard of this.
Yeah.
To be honest, it's not one that I fully understand.
Yeah.
It's a pretty complex concept.
It is complex but fascinating.
Okay.
Essentially, it's about understanding God's plan of salvation through the symbolism of the earthly sanctuary described in the Old Testament.
Okay.
They see the rituals and sacrifices in the earthly sanctuary as pointing forward to the work that Christ is doing for us in heaven.
So it's like a blueprint for understanding God's work of redemption.
Exactly. They believe that Christ is currently ministering in the heavenly sanctuary, acting as our high priest.
Okay.
He's interceding for us and cleansing us from sin. It's this beautiful picture of God's ongoing grace and forgiveness.
So even now, God is actively working on our behalf.
Yeah.
That's a comforting thought.
It is.
Yeah.
And it gives us hope as we navigate the complexities of life
Right.
and make choices that will shape our eternal destiny.
Now I'm starting to see how all these beliefs tie together.
Yeah.
The Sabbath, soul sleep, the second coming, the great controversy, free will, the sanctuary doctrine.
Right.
They all kind of fit together to create this comprehensive worldview.
Each belief supports and reinforces the others.
Yeah.
Like threads in a tapestry.
And there are still more threads to explore.
There are.
We've talked a lot about the spiritual side of things.
Right.
But I understand that Seventh-day Adventists also have very specific views on health and well-being.
They do.
Yeah, it's not all just theological concepts.
Right.
Seventh-day Adventists are actually quite well known for their emphasis on health and well-being.
Yeah,
They really, they take that seriously.
they do.
So why is that?
Well, it really stems from their core belief that our bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit.
Okay.
So taking care of our physical health is seen as an act of worship, a way to honor God and show gratitude for the gift of life.
So it's not just about physical health,
Right.
but about spiritual wholeness as well.
Exactly. They see a strong connection between the two.
And this belief influences a lot of their lifestyle choices,
It does.
especially when it comes to diet.
Yeah.
I've heard that many Seventh-day Adventists are vegetarian or vegan.
Right.
Is that a requirement?
It's not a strict requirement for membership,
Okay.
but a significant number do choose to abstain from meat and animal products.
Okay.
And their reasoning is twofold.
Okay.
They look to the biblical principles that suggest a plant-based diet was part of God's original design.
Mm-hmm.
And they also point to the growing body of scientific evidence
Right.
that highlights the health benefits of a plant-based diet.
So it's like this combination of faith and reason informing their choices.
It's exactly.
They believe that God created our bodies to thrive on natural, wholesome foods.
Okay.
And a plant-based diet aligns with that divine blueprint.
That's really interesting. It's another example of how their beliefs have this very practical impact on their daily lives.
Right.
But it's not just about diet, is it?
No, their commitment to health goes much broader than that.
Okay.
They also emphasize the importance of exercise, fresh air, sunshine, adequate rest.
Mm-hmm.
It's really a holistic approach to well-being,
Okay.
taking into account all aspects of a healthy life.
And they actually put these beliefs into action.
Yeah.
I've heard about their work in healthcare and their focus on preventative medicine.
You're right. They've been pioneers in establishing health institutions, hospitals, and clinics all over the world.
Yeah.
They're known for providing compassionate care and promoting a holistic approach to health that aligns with their beliefs.
It's amazing how they take these core beliefs
Yeah.
and turn them into concrete actions that benefit not just themselves.
But people all over the world.
It really shows a deep commitment to service and a belief that faith should be lived out in practical ways.
Now, before we wrap up, I think we need to talk about another key aspect of their belief system.
Okay.
Prophecy.
Yes, prophecy.
It's something I've always found a bit mysterious,
Yeah,
but I know it plays a significant role for Seventh-day Adventists.
it does.
What's their perspective on this?
Well, they believe that God has revealed his plan for the future through the Bible,
Okay.
particularly in the books of Daniel and Revelation. They see these prophetic writings as a roadmap,
Okay.
helping them understand the course of history and the events leading up to Christ's return.
So for them, studying prophecy is a way to gain insight into God's plan and what the future holds.
Exactly, and they've dedicated a lot of time and scholarship to interpreting these prophecies,
Yeah.
trying to understand what God is communicating to us today.
It must be a fascinating,
It is.
but also challenging area of study.
It requires a deep respect for the text, but also a willingness to grapple with complex symbolism and layers of meaning.
Yeah.
They approach it with both reverence and intellectual rigor.
And I imagine these prophetic interpretations have a big influence on their outlook, their
Yeah.
sense of urgency in sharing their faith.
Yeah, absolutely. They see these prophecies not just as predictions, but as a call to action,
Okay.
a reminder that time is short,
Right.
and we have a role to play in preparing ourselves and the world for Christ's return.
So for them, prophecy isn't just about passively waiting for something to happen.
Right.
It's about actively participating in God's plan.
Exactly. And this sense of purpose, this conviction that they're part of something bigger than themselves,
Yeah.
really fuels their mission to the world.
Yeah, I've heard that Seventh-day Adventists are very active in global outreach and service.
They are.
It seems to be a defining characteristic of their faith.
It is. They place a strong emphasis on evangelism and social justice,
Okay.
driven by the belief that they've been called to share the good news of the gospel and make a positive impact on the world.
So it's not just about personal salvation,
Right.
but about reaching out to others and making a tangible difference.
You got it. They believe that true faith expresses itself through love and compassion,
Right.
through acts of kindness and service.
And we see this in their work around the world.
We do.
In education, healthcare, community development, disaster relief.
Yeah.
They've established schools, hospitals, orphanages in countless countries,
That's true.
driven by this desire to alleviate suffering and share God's love in practical ways.
It's a truly global mission, fueled by this deep conviction that faith should be lived out in service to others.
Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
We've explored the core beliefs of Seventh-day Adventists,
Yeah.
their unique perspective on the Sabbath, their understanding of death and the afterlife, their focus on prophecy and the second coming, their emphasis on health and well-being,
Yeah.
and their commitment to global outreach and service.
It's quite a bit.
It's a rich and complex tapestry of beliefs.
It is.
And I hope this deep dive has given you, our listeners, a better understanding of what makes them tick.
I hope so too. We've only just scratched the surface, but hopefully this has sparked your curiosity
Yeah.
to learn more.
Remember, the beauty of faith often lies not just in the answers it provides,
Right.
but in the questions it inspires.
That's good.
So keep exploring, keep asking, and keep growing in your understanding.
Yeah.
Who knows what fascinating insights you might uncover along the way.
Well said. And as you reflect on what we've discussed today, consider this.
Yeah.
What aspects of the Seventh-day Adventist approach to faith resonate with you? What can we learn from their commitment to Scripture, to service to health, to understanding prophecy?
Yeah.
These are questions worth pondering, no matter what your own personal beliefs may be.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time, keep seeking, keep questioning, and keep the conversation going.